You're listening to Secret Sonics, a podcast exploring the creative side of music production. Join us weekly for honest conversations with real-world music producers and audio professionals. Hello, and welcome back to Secret Sonics. I'm your host, Ben Wallach. My guest today is Daniel Anglister. Daniel is a music producer and recording/mixing engineer based out of Tel Aviv, Israel. His passion for making great-sounding and emotionally impactful art has led him to work with many of Israel's greatest artists, including Noga Erez, Asaf Avidan, and Idan Reichel. Having spent many years honing his skills, working as a recording engineer for Israel's biggest and busiest studios, doing work ranging from indie bands to classical recordings, from folk singer-songwriter to obscure avant-garde to mainstream pop and everything in between, Daniel strives to dwell into every artist's music and help define and refine their unique sound. Former guest of the show, Noam Levenberg, recommended that I reach out to Daniel, so it's a pleasure to have him on. Welcome to Secret Sonics, Daniel.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Absolutely. I'm doing okay, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a good day so far.
All right. So, Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What's your story? How did you get into music production?
Cool. So, as a young child, I was really engulfed with a passion for music. I started playing guitar like a lot of kids at an early age, around 12. And I really, really enjoyed it. I used to practice like all day. A couple of years ago, I found a binder with like charts where I scheduled how long I should practice on like every subject. And my interest was really bound in playing at that time. I was pretty shy, so I didn't have a lot of people to play with. So I usually just, learned music by ear and played by myself. And then I really wanted to take it to the next level. Like I heard records and I didn't understand why my playing doesn't sound exactly like what I hear on the records, and what are the other instruments doing, and what's all the other things going on which aren't really just people playing. Why does this record sound like that and that one sound like that? So I started to experiment with like recording and programming other instruments who I couldn't play, and really imitating like what I heard on records, programming drums and programming strings and trying to really figure out what these things were and how to make it sound exactly. Like I was pretty like a methodical person because my parents are scientists, so I really wanted to understand how to make it exactly as I heard it. And then, I at the time I just like bought a bunch. There's still crates at my parents' house of books from Amazon. Like I bought everything about like recording and mixing and arranging or whatever, and I just used to read because at that time there wasn't that much information on the internet regarding all these things. Like today it's mind-blowing, like the amount of information and amount of people who are like professionals who talk and show you how they do what they do. At that time it wasn't that open, but I tried to grab whatever I could.
Yeah, were there any good books at the beginning that you found that kind of changed your thoughts about everything?
Yeah, I think there was like it's really funny. It's really hard. It doesn't stand the test of time too well. There was like a book/video from, I think, David Gibson that's called The Art of Mixing.
Oh, yeah. That's the one with like those like bubbles.
Exactly,
right?
With the bubbles. Yeah, and it's so visually oriented. Yeah. And, in the video you see like just stuff popping in and out. And he has like this way of visualizing what's going on with the music. That depth is like reverb and height is frequency and, width is panning, and every instrument has like a place, and effects are like splatters of half see-through things. It's kind of a very visual way of listening to music, and everything in that video stylistically is kind of awful. Like, not to be too judgmental, but it's very 80s-esque, not in a good way.
Yeah.
But the
yeah.
the idea of it, of the visualizing, was so cool to me that it really helped me, and it really stuck with me for a lot of years. Like I think I still,
Yeah.
to some extent, you know, when I'm listening and I'm in front of the speakers, I do hear stuff like that. And when I mix, I do try to think and place things in that certain way.
Wow.
It's kind of like blobs of shapes of colors, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'll definitely put a link in the show notes because I feel like if you haven't seen this book, you have no idea what we're talking about. So
Yeah,
go look in the show notes. I'll post to it.
I used to teach for a couple of years, like Pro Tools and mixing, and like for one whole lesson, I just made everyone watch that stupid video, because I just think it's a must. It's a must. I wish someone would like do that, like in a way that's a little more up to date, but you know, the same kind of concept. Because it's a really good idea.
Yeah, you could be that guy. You can do it.
I might. So
we'll chat about it after the podcast.
Yeah, maybe that's a pretty good idea. So where was I before? Oh yeah. And then I started like working in a small studio / rehearsal room, you know, to practice my newly found skills, and you know, to handle more microphones and consoles and stuff like that. That was fine, and I just used it as, like, you know, a way to pass the time and make a little money before I was supposed to get drafted. So I did that for a while. And then at one time, there was like this really, really famous, great Israeli drummer called Tomer Tzidkiyahu, who came there for like a session. And I was really young, and he couldn't stop talking to me about a studio, which he said it's like the best studio, and you have to go there, and everything is amazing. And it's really what people here call chul. Like, it's really...
Oh, like not Israel.
not Israel, in like in the bad way. Like super professional, and yeah. So I thought, cool, maybe I'll send like a resume. I've been doing this for a while. Let's see how it goes. And obviously you send a resume and nobody cares. Like, nobody knows who you are. You haven't really done anything. And there's a big list of people who want to go there, who want to intern, want to be assistants, want to do that. So I had this project, a singer that we were working on in the studio, and we recorded it. I mixed it. It wasn't anything great, but you know, it was fine for the time. And the project needed mastering. And what I knew is that the person who was managing the studio Tomer talked about, which was Bardo Studios, formerly Hamon Studios in Ramat Gan, great studio to this day. The person who was managing it was also the mastering engineer. So I told them, you know what? Just, you know, I'll take the song. I'll go to the mastering session. I'll sit with the guy. We'll master it. It's going to be great. I'll take this off your hands. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to schedule it. You don't need to go there. I'll just do it for you. And that way I got an hour and a half job interview where my interviewer couldn't leave the room because I was paying him to master the song.
Sick.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't fuck that up too much because, like, after about a month, they called me back and said, you know what, there's a position open right now if you want to come to intern. And I said, yeah, definitely. I totally would. And that was the first time I managed to get into, like, a big studio. And I think that's where I really started to learn more how stuff really happens here. Big sessions, you know, professional music, to see really good engineers working, and, you know.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, everybody has like a different story when it comes to like how they got in on a big studio, you know? And I guess not most people these days don't have that opportunity, But if you can, it seems like if you could somehow get in on one of the big studios, it seems to, you know, begin a real career for a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it is like now and these days because everything changed and the big studios are struggling too. Yeah. And like even not financially, but it used to be like 10, 15 years ago that most of the stuff you would hear on the radio would go through one of these studios, you know. It was tracked or mixed or mastered or whatever. And right now, it really isn't like that, you know. You can pick, like, the top 100 songs of you know, whatever station. And you would see a lot of them are, like, totally 100% based home studios or, you know, recorded or mixed at, like, a million different places. So I don't know if today it's like as a great place to learn or to be in. I think it's more complicated right now. Like,
Yeah.
I knew that if I would go there, that's where the knowledge was. That's where the people were.
Right.
And if I made coffee well enough and, roll the cables, run around and be polite, then maybe I would learn something.
Yeah, totally. Well, did you have like an aha moment at any point where you said like, oh, this dream of mine of being involved in audio and recordings, like this is becoming a reality?
I don't know. I don't know if I had it yet. I still think, you kind of go along with it. I definitely had a lot of moments when I was in awe, when I was really, really struck emotionally by what was happening. And that made me stay and made me pursue it even harder, Like the first time you go to a big studio and you hear some fantastic musician playing on like super big ADC speakers and you're just blown away because it grabs you and you've never heard something, that articulate or that good. And, that makes you really excited about it. Yeah. And it's hard to top that, It's hard. I think it's like addicts at some point, when you had really big highs, you were really excited about something, and then it's really hard to go back to just, stuff being okay. And you want to do it again. And you want to experience it again, and you want to take part in it, and you want to make great stuff that will impact you emotionally. It doesn't matter if it's, what kind of emotion it is. But it really is mesmerizing, the fact that, something can come out of the speakers and you can feel something. It still strikes me to this day. I'm not really sure how that makes sense, but it is addictive.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. There's something magical about being in a room with an amazing musician, like you said it, and just like being blown away by somebody's ability to harness emotion in that musical way that only music is. Music is a unique art. It just like. It just brings out emotion in a way that other arts, I think, don't. So just being a part of the creation of that is quite addictive. So you mentioned to me, I guess, before we started recording the interview itself, that you kind of are sort of niching into mixing. You're still engineering and stuff, but tell me a bit about how that process has been going for you, and tell me about some of the mixing that you've been doing.
Well, I've been mostly mixing, I think, as like my thing for the past 6 or 7 years. I do occasionally engineer, but I don't do that as much as I used to. I did spend a lot of years, when I was like an engineer for a big studio, at first at Bardo and then like at Pluto, which is also a big studio in Tel Aviv, which I just did tracking from dusk till dawn. It was crazy. I just did tracking after tracking session. I think I had like a record of not even going home for like 4 straight days or something, just like going to sleep on the couch for 2 hours and then, coming up for another session. Great times. Emotionally crushing, but great times,
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's a place for everything, right?
Yeah. There's an age for everything. I mean, you can do that at a certain age and it just gets too tasking after it. But now I mostly mix, and that that varies. Sometimes it's you mix and you really create a whole new image or another take on songs. Sometimes people come to you, and I think that's what we talked about before, and they come to you with something that's pretty much it is what it is. It's pretty advanced. It's mixed, and it needs a little help just to get to another level. Or,
right.
Just for someone with fresh ears to be able to pinpoint, weak points and strong points and offer, like, ideas about how to do things, And that's the album we were talking about before, which is supposed to be released, I think, sometime in the next few months. The Noga Eres album. And that was really a process like that. Because, they're really, really great, and they do great stuff together. And they just need another person, to help them bring it up another level. But it's not kind of a project where you invent it. It is what it is. You just try
Yeah,
to make it as emotionally impactful